So, good afternoon. Happy Groundhog's Day. Looks like he's not going to see his shadow today. Okay, so verse 14. Even if someone broadcasts all kinds of unpleasant remarks about you throughout the 3,000 worlds, in return, with a loving mind, speak of his good qualities. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. So nowadays, with internet and Facebook and Twitter and all of that, then this is much more likely to happen. You can even broadcast it to outer space. But on the other hand, it's not really that funny because this is a really painful situation. This is touching on an area that I think is very sensitive to most people. This concern about what others think about us, what others say about us. And it reminds me of Venerable Jigme's talks recently about the work of Brené Brown and this very pervasive sense of shame that everybody has, apparently. I was surprised to find that out. But yeah, so we are very, very concerned about what others think and say, and it's really painful if they say bad things about us. So why do you think that is? Why is that such a big concern for us? It's also said in the teachings, like in Pabonka Rinpoche's Liberation in the Palm of the Hand, he said, this is one of the hardest attachments to give up. It's not that difficult to give up attachment to food, clothing, and so on, but attachment to reputation is a really, really hard one. So it's not just here in the West, but in Asia as well. What do you think it is?
I think we're insecure and we're not sure of our own good qualities. So we're constantly looking for other people to tell us that we're good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a big one.
We think we are not worthy of love and respect.
We what?
We don't feel that we are worthy of respect and love.
Yeah, that's similar. So I think it does come from a not very healthy sense of self-esteem, self-value, self-worth.
I think it has to do too with this I that we're grasping at. We try to make all these identities, and when someone says something that challenges how we see ourselves and our identities.
Yeah.
And so I think it goes back to the self-grasping.
Yeah, this morning I was thinking of a story, a true story that I came across a couple of years ago. There's this young woman somewhere in the Southwest, I don't know, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, one of those states. And when she was still in high school, maybe 16, 17, 18 years old, one day she was surfing the internet or Facebook or whatever, and she came across this caption, this headline that said, "The ugliest woman in the world." And she was curious about that, so she went there. And she found that somebody had posted a photo of her with that caption, "The ugliest woman in the world." And then there were all these comments that people had made to that. And the thing is, she was born with some kind of condition or illness that was such that she couldn't put on weight. No matter how much she ate, she was just like skin and bones. And her face was like, really gaunt. So she did look kind of scary. And, but anyway, so, she was probably just totally shocked by this. But she read through all the comments. There were like 1,000 comments. And she read through all of them. And some of them were really horrible, cruel, malicious, saying things like, take her out and shoot her, burn her. And, it's amazing that she survived that. I think, a lot of people would just go out and kill themselves. But it seems that she received a lot of love and attention and unconditional love from her family from the time she was born. So that left her with a very strong sense of self-worth, that she was lovable, she was valuable, she was a good person in spite of her condition, her appearance, and so forth. So that deep sense of self-worth helped her to, recover from this, devastating experience. And she managed to go on and fulfill her dreams. One of her dreams was to go to university and graduate with a degree. And the other dream was to become a motivational speaker and give TED Talks. And I actually watched a TED Talk that she gave. And it was really beautiful. She comes across, I mean, her appearance is quite shocking in a way, but she comes across as a really kind and sweet and gentle person, and with a lot of good in her, you know. And she was even able to kind of be humorous and make jokes about her situation, like, oh, you know, I can eat all I want and not worry about putting on pounds. For most people, that's a big, you know, a big problem. So anyway, that to me illustrates what was being said here, that, you know, the important thing isn't what people say about us or think about us or how we appear, but how we feel about ourselves inside. And if we can have a strong sense of our own self-worth and self-value and so on, then that's the important thing. Because when you think about it, I mean, what do other people know? Do other people really know us? All they see is what's on the outside, how we look, what we do, and so forth, and then they can make comments about that. But they don't know what's going on inside of us, how we think, how we feel, what our motivations are, whether we're a good person or not. So then, does it really make sense, you know, to let our sense of self-worth depend on what other people say and what other people think? And also, it's so changeable. You know, one day somebody praises you, the next day they may insult you. So it's not very reliable, you know, what other people say and think. And the really important thing is how we feel about ourselves. And I can see that also in the Dalai Lama. I mean, to me, and I'm sure all of us here, he's like so wonderful, so fantastic. But not everybody likes him. There are people who say negative things about him, especially the Chinese. You know, they say he's a demon, he's a wolf in monk's clothing. And then when he teaches in the West, sometimes there's these people outside demonstrating, you know, yelling and saying bad things about him. But he doesn't seem to mind it. He seems to it doesn't faze him, and he's able to make jokes about it and even extend kindness to those who say these negative things about him. And I think that comes because he really knows himself. He knows his own mind, his worth, his value, and so on, and he doesn't let that be affected by what others say and think. And, you know, for us who are on the spiritual path, we have so much to feel good about. I mean, of course, we have a precious human rebirth, we have Buddha nature, but then on top of that, we are really trying to follow a spiritual path, live ethically, be generous, be kind, do good for others, do meditation. We're creating so much good, so much virtue. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind and rejoice in what we are doing and what we are and what we have, and, you know, have a strong sense of value on our own, and that will help us to not be affected by, even if this kind of situation happens, you know, people broadcast all kinds of bad things about us. And then also at the end of the verse it says, you know, have a loving mind towards this person and speak of their good qualities. Now that's really hard to do. I think we'd have to do a lot of work to get to that point. But on the other hand, there's a logic to that. Because if we do find ourselves in this situation where we're being criticized, people saying bad things about us, what's the karmic cause of that? Why are we in that situation? So we must have done that ourselves before. We were critical of others, saying bad things about others, spreading rumors about others. So that's why we're in this situation now. So if we just follow our impulse to say bad things about that person, we're just perpetuating that same karma. And then we'll experience the same suffering again in the future. So it's just keeping this cycle going. So it makes more sense to do the opposite. Not say bad things about this person and try to say good things about the person. So that's the way of stopping that karma, cutting that karma, and creating the opposite kind of karma, where people will praise us. Not that we should be concerned about that. We shouldn't be attached to praise. But on the other hand, you know, on the Bodhisattva's path, it is important to have a good reputation, to have people think well of you, because then you're able to influence them. they'll listen to you. So it just makes sense. We think about it in terms of karma, in terms of what's really important, and so on. This teaching makes sense. So I hope we'll all be able to do that when people do criticize us and say negative things about us. Thank you.